You're good enough for dog food. Come on, say bow. I never thought I'd be subjected to such humiliation. Although our marriage is still fresh, I've tried to comply with this woman's demands in my own way. But it seems all for naught. She might be an alien or something. That explains everything. I don't know the language aliens speak, but I no longer wish to talk to her. My name is Allison. I'm a 32-year-old office worker. Perhaps influenced by my game-loving older brother, I've been fond of games since childhood, especially role-playing games that immerse me in unreal worlds. I've made many friends through social media, which I started a few years ago. One of them is my husband, Carmine. We both liked the same game and shared favorite characters and spells. When a new game came out, we'd go buy it together. After years of such companionship, we became conscious of each other and decided to get married. Carmine's parents are Stanley, who is often away on solo assignments, and Bianca, a housewife. Stanley, due to his busy work, comes home only a few times a year. Carmine's grandmother, Stanley's mother, also lives with them but has been suffering from Alzheimer's for a few years now, and recently, her hearing has declined, making conversation difficult.
Grandma got forgetful all of a sudden when Dad went on his solo assignments. It must have been quite a shock,
he said. Bianca takes care of the grandmother-in-law. Since Carmine lived alone early on, his parents-in-law's home is just Bianca and the grandmother-in-law. I wondered if I would have to take care of a stranger who wasn't even my parent someday. However, both parents-in-law are healthy, and it seems that the opportunity is still far off. I was completely at ease. Until that one phone call. One day, it was my day off, and after finishing all the housework I had accumulated, I was playing my favorite game. Then, an unfamiliar sound rang out in my room. What's that sound again? Oh, a ringtone. I rarely get calls, so I forgot my own ringtone. Seeing the displayed name, I tensed up a bit. A call from Bianca? It was the first time I got a call from my mother-in-law, Bianca. And though nervous, I thought something might have happened, so I hurriedly answered. Hello? You're late. It's common sense for a working adult to answer promptly when a superior calls. The sudden sarcasm made me instinctively want to hang up, but I refrained. Sorry, I'll be careful. So what can I do for you today? As if. You're free on your days off, right? Playing with that incomprehensible toy? Do some work. Fulfill your duties as Carmine's wife. Told to visit the parents-in-law's home on my next day off, Bianca hung up. After the call, I was in a daze for a while. Why must I be subjected to sarcasm from a call I rarely get? I thought about ignoring it, but she is Carmine's mother, after all. Maybe I'll just listen to what she has to say. I decided to think that way. Of course, I reported to Carmine that night.
I'm really sorry. It's probably going to be a hassle, so you don't have to go.
It was honestly comforting to hear Carmine say that. Still, it's infuriating. At times like this, there's a place I always go to after work. Hello? Oh, if it isn't Allison, something bothering you? Susan from the pottery school greets me with a smile and those words. I start with a light heart, but now I'm completely engrossed. Susan is about the same age as my grandma, but is still strong and willing to listen to my life problems. She's like a mom to everyone. Of course, pottery is fun, but I come here to talk to Susan. Listen to this, Susan. I got a rare call from Bianca, and it was a parade of sarcasm. You must be free, she said, or do your duty as a wife. I didn't expect to be told such outdated things. Susan always listens to my complaints without a frown. Just ignore that pointless Bianca. There's still such old-fashioned people around. People who say such things are often lenient with themselves. My son's wife is just like that. I may not be blessed with Bianca, but I'm surrounded by kind people. It naturally makes me want to try harder. On my next day off, I did as Bianca told me and headed to the parents-in-law's home. When I parked and headed to the entrance, Bianca was already standing on the porch. Oh, scary. I struggled to stay calm and greeted her. Good morning. The norm is to act 30 minutes earlier. Don't keep your superiors waiting, She said that, and though I had just arrived, I already wanted to leave. I can understand this for work, but why must I be scolded for her inexplicable convenience? And a 30-minute early visit can be inconvenient for the other party, which I don't want to do. No, but it's still 10 minutes early. As I tried to answer, I was shouted at. Don't talk back. Am I in the military or something? I looked up, resigned. I will never open my heart to this person again, no matter what happens. And I will never take care of her in her old age. Even if offered a large sum of money, I refuse. Really, you're late for the appointment. Well, I'm off now. Bianca said this and was about to leave, so I stopped her. Wait a minute, you call me here without explanation, and I don't understand. Well, I'm going out until tonight, so you will have to come here on your days off from now on and do the housework. And take care of the person holed up in the back room, too. After saying this, Bianca left in her car. I've never met someone so hard to communicate with. She seemed kind when I met her with Stanley and Carmine, but that wasn't the case at all. I thought about going back without doing anything to avoid being scolded again. But more than that, I hadn't met my grandmother-in-law yet. Bianca had told grandmother-in-law, but since she didn't understand, she decided on her own that I didn't need to attend the family wedding. By the way, we only had a simple meal and didn't have a wedding ceremony. Later, Carmine and I were supposed to greet her together, but our days off didn't match, and embarrassingly, we never made it. Excuse me. As I opened the entrance door, a shocking scene unfolded. Too dirty. It wasn't quite a garbage house, but it seemed to be a matter of time before it became one. The room was overflowing with things, and a mountain of laundry, washed or not, spread across the floor, and the kitchen sink was full of dishes. Dust had accumulated in the corners of the room, and it was visibly appalling. The last time I came, the room was clean and tidy. What on earth happened? This is too terrible. As I was thinking this, I heard noises from the back room. Ah, grandmother-in-law. Thinking I should greet grandmother-in-law, I went to the room. Excuse me. Oh, since the day Bianca called me, I've been going to the parents-in-law's home as told. I've come to understand that Bianca probably spends every day out and returns home late at night. She doesn't seem to take care of the house or grandmother-in-law at all, and while she arrogantly tells me to do my wife's duties, it's clear that Bianca isn't fulfilling any herself. Maybe she got carried away because I obediently listened. I'm relieved that Carmine, who always plays with toys, finally brought home a wife, but after all, a wife is a stranger. I guess you're a free housekeeper. I was loudly told that once. In this day and age, harassing a son's wife is just unacceptable. Of course, I reported all of Bianca's actions to Carmine, who kept apologizing every time he heard about them. You don't have to go to that house anymore. That's what Carmine told me. He even said he would complain to Bianca himself, but I told him to wait because I had a plan. I continued to visit the parents-in-law's home because I was worried about grandmother-in-law. When Carmine saw that grandmother-in-law and I got along well, he was very pleased. After a few months of those days, while I was cleaning the parents-in-law's home as usual, Bianca said, There's a memorial service at the end of this month, and people will gather, but make sure you don't say anything unnecessary, okay? I smiled and replied, Of course, Bianca. Bianca seemed not to be completely satisfied with my obedient self. The memorial service was for Carmine's grandfather, the grandfather-in-law's death anniversary. He had already passed away by the time I married Carmine, but he was said to be a gentle and kind person. He got along very well with grandmother-in-law, and they used to travel together. Carmine told me they always held hands when they were out. Grandfather-in-law died of cancer, and grandmother-in-law took devoted care of him. But the parents-in-law did not help at all. It's just unbelievable. There's a lot of preparation to do, so make sure you come early, okay? And I think you know what I mean. Bianca said that, and I cheerfully responded, Yes, I'll act 30 minutes early. Yet she scolded me. Your voice is too loud, be quiet. I thought about throwing the TV remote at her, but managed to hold back. You can talk like that now, but just wait, get ready. I looked forward to the day of the memorial service. The long-awaited day of the memorial service. I was told to come 30 minutes early, but I went an hour early. Sure enough, it seemed to be an inconvenience, and Bianca, showing her true colors, came out of the entrance angry, saying, "You're too early. There's such a thing as too much." Honestly, when I saw her face, I thought she was a monster. I quickly cleaned the room and prepared the tables when I heard a cheerful male voice say, "Good morning." Heading to the entrance, I saw the staff from a famous local steakhouse standing there. I had been there once with Carmine, and the meat was tender and quite delicious. However, it's not kind to the wallet, so it's not a place I can often go to. As if saying I was fine, Bianca pushed me aside and began talking to the handsome staff in a slightly high voice. "Good morning. Nice weather today, isn't it? Oof-oo-foo." I saw someone say oof-oo-foo for the first time and went back to preparing. "Hey, hurry up and carry the food that arrived early," I heard Bianca's annoying voice. While thinking, yes, I headed to the kitchen. There I noticed something. Bianca, there's one meal short. Is this a mistake? Shall I call? When I said that, Bianca, with a mean smile, said this. "It's not a mistake. I never prepared a portion for you." I was stunned, never expecting to be treated like this. "After all, today people are gathering, and you, my son's wife, won't have time to eat. How shameless." Feeling like I had been called a greedy person, I finally felt indignant. Maybe because I didn't talk back, she felt good and said, "A housekeeper like you is good enough for dog food. Come on, say bow." Then she put the dog food left over from the dog they used to have in the parents-in-law's home in front of me. At that humiliating act, I couldn't help but laugh. I would never understand this woman, not in a lifetime, because she must be an alien or something. I have no intention of talking to someone with whom I can't communicate. Thinking that, I shouted at Bianca in a language I didn't know, pretending to speak alien. And for a moment, Bianca's face showed a hint of fear at my sudden behavior. "What? Are you out of your mind? Are you mocking me?" "Yes, I guess so. I've been putting up with it for quite some time now. I don't like living in a house with someone as nasty as you. I don't know what you're upset about, but will you be satisfied if we get a divorce?" I won't allow a divorce. Then I'd have to hire another housekeeper. That would be a waste of money. With that, Bianca came at me, trying to grab me.
"Stop it! How disgraceful!"
Turning around, there stood Carmine and my father-in-law Stanley, along with Stanley's brother and his wife, who lived far away. Bianca hadn't noticed them because of our argument, but it was already time for Carmine and the others to arrive. I don't know how long they had been watching, but Bianca became completely subdued, perhaps because Stanley intervened or from the shock. Then it was time for the priest to come to the house. The memorial service ended modestly, and it was time to eat, but grandmother-in-law stayed in her room, saying she wasn't feeling well.
"I haven't eaten this in a while, but the steak here is really good."
While Stanley said that, I was bustling around bringing drinks and such.
"Allison, come eat too. You don't need to do all this."
"Thank you. Come over here." My aunt-in-law Cindy also called out kindly. "Thank you, but it seems there is no steak for me." I pretended to be dejected as I said that, and when Cindy asked, why?" I replied, "I can't possibly say it. Please ask Bianca." Cindy glared at Bianca, who might have been frightened by her gaze, and started saying something ridiculous. "Oh, I ordered the wrong number of steaks. I told Allison to eat my portion, but she declined, saying she was fine. I'm so lucky to have such a nice woman marry into the family." Bianca was sweating profusely, and her eyes were darting around. "Is that so?" Cindy looked at me worriedly. "Yes, that's right." Behind Cindy, I could see Bianca's face completely at ease. That face was so comical, I struggled to keep from laughing. Bianca is always so kind. She points out when I'm lacking social manners. Today, instead of steak, she prepared this for me. I said that and brought out the dog food Bianca had handed me from the kitchen. Bianca turned pale at my unexpected action.
"What's going on? What have you done to my precious wife?"
Carmine asked, but Bianca remained silent. In the quiet room, Stanley spoke up.
"Well, you know, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? Allison is married now, so..."
Stanley started joking. and Carmine looked like he was about to grab him. Thinking it better to avoid an assault charge, I decided to call my ace in the hole. "Susan?" Everyone was surprised by my loud call. Then, from a back room, a cheerful voice replied, "Yes?" Out came Susan, grandmother-in-law. It turns out she's the Susan from pottery school. The day Bianca first called me over, we were both shocked to see each other. Never imagining that the grandmother-in-law would be Susan, we finished the housework at the parents-in-law's home together, laughing. The parents-in-law's home is a two-family house, and Susan's living space was very tidy. It was obvious that she wasn't sick, but Bianca never suspected. Since Bianca returned home late at night, we went out to eat and for walks. I enjoyed the time spent with my beloved Susan, which is why I was happy to visit the parents-in-law's home. Susan had made me promise not to tell the in-laws about our relationship. I was angry at Bianca's unreasonable words, but knowing it would end someday, I could bear it. Susan didn't attend the memorial service because she didn't want to see the parents-in-law's faces. Susan always prayed for grandfather-in-law's happiness after his death.
Why, Mom, don't you have Alzheimer's?"
Stanley asked, puzzled. "That's just something this woman misunderstood on her own." With that, Bianca, who had been shrinking herself, was glared at. "I wanted to live alone with my husband, but right after getting married, you started living with us for the sake of he's your son, and you and your husband indulged in luxury with the money saved from rent." Susan said this, and Stanley looked uncomfortable. "I thought I'd be free when your transfer was decided, but then this woman said she would stay here, and it was the worst. I couldn't even talk about kicking her out because you were never home. And I pretended to be hard of hearing because I didn't want to talk to you. And then you just assumed I had Alzheimer's. It's laughable." Bianca's face turned bright red. "What I couldn't forgive the most was being treated as absent from the grandchildren's celebrations. Well, I was very happy when I found out Allison, whom I'd get along with, was the spouse of my grandchildren." Susan said that and smiled at me. Bianca, not finding this amusing, suddenly started. "I'm sorry. Allison was always so cold to me. I was frustrated, and that's why I did such a prank today. I truly regret it. But if Allison had been kinder from the start, then I wouldn't have been too—" I had no intention of playing along with such a charade. "All the precious words you've given me up until now, Bianca, I thought I'd listen to them at home, too." I said that and pulled out a voice recorder I had hidden in my pocket. With each playback, Bianca's face grew paler, and the faces around us grew more severe. Susan and I had planned to expose everything on this day when the relatives gathered, regardless of the steak incident. After listening, Cindy started to laugh. "You talk about social common sense, but you've never worked a day in your life." Apparently, Bianca had never worked and had lived a life of leisure. After the children grew up, Bianca began to go out more, causing constant arguments with Stanley. Stanley himself was apparently a habitual adulterer who returned home late every night, participating in school events for the sake of public image, but otherwise maintaining a fake relationship, as I had heard from Carmine. Carmine also hated it and left home as soon as he graduated from high school. "That's why, pack your bags and leave right now. This is the precious home of my deceased husband and me. I will never allow you to return, and you too." Susan said this and glared at Stanley. "You have another woman out there, don't you? Do as you please, trash son. I'm cutting ties with you." Stanley left the house as if fleeing, perhaps hit too close to home. "And Carmine, I know you're busy with work, but come and visit once in a while. I understand if you don't want to, given such foolish parents." Susan said this to Carmine with a slightly sad look. "Then we're heading home." As Carmine and I left the house, Bianca, looking furious, chased after me. "Wait, clear up this misunderstanding. If I'm thrown out of here, I'll be in trouble." I thought if that was the case, she shouldn't have harassed me to begin with, but it's too late for her words now. "I don't understand. Why don't you work? You seem to have a great understanding of how to be a respectful member of society," I said sarcastically and got into the car. She was shouting something outside, but I didn't care. She might as well regret the life she's led as she pleases. As for the former parents-in-law, After being kicked out of the parents-in-law's home, Bianca showed up at Stanley's place where he was working alone. But as Susan predicted, Stanley was already living with his mistress, and Bianca was quickly discarded. Furthermore, it turned out that Bianca had also been having an affair, and even worse, with a married man, and she was sued for damages by his wife. Since both our former parents-in-law had been unfaithful, the damages were sort of offset, but Bianca would likely continue to pay the mistress's husband. Stanley might lessen his burden if he sought damages from his mistress, but to me, they are strangers, and it doesn't matter anymore. They were a match in a way, despite the fake relationship I had heard about. Carmine has no lingering feelings for his former parents and intends never to see them again. I feel the same. As for us, we've decided to live in the parents-in-law's home where Susan lives. The house, once full of unpleasant memories, was transformed as we disposed of all the furniture Bianca had collected, and made significant changes to the interior, making it feel like a completely different home. Susan is surprisingly energetic for her age, but I'm more than willing to take care of her if she ever needs it. Furthermore, next year our family will be growing. I'm looking forward to living a happy life with my beloved family from now on.